Welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I'm your host, renowned sex and relationship coach, Amanda Testa. And if you are looking to reclaim your sexual desire, take sex from a to-do to something you look forward to, and enjoy deeply connected relationships without adding more to your already full plate, then you are in the right place. Listen in to discover how to fan the flames of your feminine fire, fall in love with your sensual self again, and experience intimacy like never before, all in a way that feels really good to your system. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I am your host, Amanda Testa, and today I'm going to be diving into the topic of embodiment. What is embodiment, and why is it key for better sex, better intimacy, better connection? Well, this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, and I know it can seem so overused in the world these days, right? Everything is somatic this and embodiment that. So what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Well, the definition of embodiment is a tangible or visible form of an idea, quality, or feeling. And what I typically think of embodiment is, it's actually being able to tune in to the wisdom of our bodies, tune into what's going on beneath our brain, beneath the surface, so to speak, because obviously the brain is an important part of our body and it all works together. But oftentimes in our culture, we are very disconnected from our bodies, right? We are taught from a young age to ignore the signs, the things that we need. It starts even when we're in elementary school, when we can only drink water at a certain time or go to the bathroom at a certain time, or even when we get busy and we don't get up from our desks to take care of the things that we need. We don't eat or we don't drink water, all those things. And so it's my belief that our bodies hold very important information. And when we can tune in, we gain greater insights into ourselves. And the more we are able to make lasting changes. And I just recently returned from a 2-week trip to Costa Rica where I was co-teaching the Vita Coaching Embodiment Retreats. And it is such an amazing thing to do because we have basically 100 students each week that are in the Vita coaching program, which is what I did in 2017, one of the coaching programs that I did. And it is such an amazing program to really become an expert coach in the realm of sex, love, and relationships. And the retreats are an opportunity to actually do some of the skills that we're learning in person, to do some of the embodiment practices in person. And it always blows my mind, the power of the healing that happens in these retreats, because often we just hold so much in our bodies and we have never really had the opportunity to work with it in all the ways that are possible. So I was going to share a couple of the top takeaways from my experience teaching, as well as why I find embodiment to be such an important healing tool. Well, number one, the power of healing in a group is there's nothing quite like it. And there's collective growth that happens, and there's just possibility when you see others and what others are capable of. It reminds you of what you are capable of. And also, growth is not linear, right? We so often think that, oh, I'm going to go from A to B and it's going to be really simple. But I'm sure many of you have seen that image out there of a big squiggly line with ups and downs and this, that, and the other. And that's truly how healing happens, how we grow, because it's not linear. And we're going to have expansions and we're going to have contractions, and we're going to have periods of growth, and we're going to have periods of maybe returning to our old habits. But over time, we become more adept at resilience and we become more able to handle more. And our nervous system learns to be able to more easily deal with difficulty. And our nervous system learns how to hold more of what's good. And so that is one of the big things that can happen when we work in this realm. And one of the other trainings that I've done, somatic experiencing, which really, what does that mean? Somatic of the body, letting the body have its experience. But basically it resolves symptoms of stress and trauma and shock and all the things that can accumulate in our bodies over a lifetime. And we often can be stuck in certain cycles, right? And so when we learn to complete these stuck stress cycles in our body, then we can more freely have the life force energy available to us to enjoy our lives and to feel good in our bodies and to enjoy the sensations that we're feeling versus having numbness or pain or feeling shut down, right? So the number one takeaway about being in a group and noticing how healing can happen in so many different ways is really inspiring to witness and to be a part of. And number two is there's so much around body image that we can heal by being in a group, right? Because what we see out there in the media is not a representation of the actual world. It's not what bodies actually look like. And unfortunately, because of the media that we're exposed to, so many people have a warped view of what their bodies need to look like, right? And even over the years of doing this work, I see such an increase in augmentation of bodies because of the Kardashians and influence from the media and stuff like that. Because then we get into our mind that there's only these certain ways to look beautiful. And again, this is your body. You're welcome to do what you want with it. And there's no shame at all. If you are someone who has done something to change the way your body looks, there's no shame in that, right? We each to our own, we get to do what makes us feel good. And I totally celebrate that. At the same time, I think there is also a kind of a whitewashing of the media where what we see out there is not normal. And so we see photoshopped images, we see a lot of plastic surgery and all the things that aren't realistic, fillers and fake eyelashes and all the things. And it's not representative of what natural, real bodies look like. So it can be hard to discern like what is real. And when we actually get to see a bunch of different bodies and shapes and colors and sizes, then we realize the beauty in every single person, right? The beauty in the diversity, really. And so when we can be around others in these healing ways, it's really so inspiring. We can hear what real life bodies sound like and look like. And that's not something that we often hear. Also, we really get to practice these skills of embodiment, of listening to our bodies, of working with what's beneath the surface. How do we do this? So some of the most powerful ways that I find to learn these skills are, number one, being able to listen to the language of our body, right? We need to understand how the body speaks to us, and it speaks to us through sensations. So this is something that can often feel like learning a foreign language, right? We need to learn the sensational language of our bodies. So what does that mean? What is the language of sensation? So what do I mean by that? So often we can share something that we're experiencing, right? Like, I feel amazing today. Well, how do I know that I feel amazing? Well, okay, let me just drop into that sensation for a minute. What does amazing feel like in my body? What do I notice when I'm feeling amazing? So for me, I might feel like a buzzing of energy that feels pleasant. I might feel an openness in my chest. I might feel like an upward movement of energy. There can be a lot of different things that come up for you, right? And so when we're talking about the language of our body, we're talking about sensations. We're talking about our five senses. So some examples of common sensations that you might notice. Maybe I feel sore, or maybe I feel tight, or maybe I feel nauseated, or maybe I feel shaky, or maybe I feel queasy, maybe I feel dizzy, maybe I feel breathless, maybe I feel tingly, maybe I feel constricted, maybe I feel dull, maybe I feel disconnected, right? Maybe I feel heavy, or maybe I feel numb, or maybe I feel hot, maybe I feel sweaty, maybe I feel expansive, maybe I feel a tingling. Like all of these types of things are sensations. And that is how we learn to speak the language of our body, is by tuning into the sensations that we experience. And this is a practice that takes time. So one of the easiest ways that you can start to connect to this is simply by just tuning in every once in a while, and maybe take a few minutes in your day to just notice, okay, so what is present for me right now? What am I noticing in my body? What am I noticing? Any emotions that are here? Any sensations that I'm feeling? What else is going on with me in this present moment? So I can give you an example in this moment right now. In this moment right now, I'm feeling a little bit tired. My head feels a little bit heavy. I've got sinus pressure. I'm noticing that my voice feels a little bit scratchy. I'm noticing that my sit bones feel really heavy in the chair. I'm noticing that my feet are rested on the bar of my desk and it feels really nice and cool on my feet. I'm noticing as I speak, I'm kind of feeling a little more openness in my chest. I'm noticing my eyes feel a little bit scratchy. So that's how you do it. You tune in and you speak out loud what you're experiencing. And I am also getting over being sick. So I've been pretty much out of commission for the past week, but I'm getting back to my normal self. But that's what I'm noticing in this moment. So when we can tune into these things, this is enabling us to be more aware of what we're experiencing. And because we also want to learn to not bypass any of our sensations, right? We learn to work with what's coming up. But we also can learn to discern, like, what are the things that actually feel pleasant? And how can I bring my awareness there? So this comes in handy when we're talking about embodiment for better sex, because when we can tune into the sensations that feel pleasant and keep bringing our awareness there, it's not bypassing the ones that are difficult or uncomfortable, but we can just go back and forth between the two, right? Find what feels good, hook into that pleasant sensation, and notice what happens as you sit with it, right? As you tune into it, what else happens as you follow that thread? Because it can be so easy for us to shift to, oh, well, I'm noticing this like pain in my foot, and the pain in my foot is driving me crazy, and I'm having an itch over here, and it's bugging the heck out of me. And I just want to, oh man, now I need to go to the grocery store, and I forgot I need to go to the grocery store, and I need to get that lotion for my legs so dry and itchy. I need to blah, 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 right? So that's how our brains work. But when we can start remembering like, okay, well, I'm also noticing that it feels really nice the way my hand feels rubbing on my thigh right now. Like I love the sensation. My skin feels so soft to touch, and I'm noticing just the care that I can feel in my hand. And it actually is making my skin feel a little bit warm and a little bit tingly. And I really kind of like that feeling of a really light touch. And I'm just going to notice what happens as I keep my awareness with that touch that feels good. And I'm noticing as I bring more of my awareness there that pleasurable feeling starts to kind of spread a little bit more through my leg. And then what happens next? See, that's how we can play the game. And it can be a really beautiful way to get your head back into your experience, back into the present when you find yourself maybe drifting into somewhere you don't want to go mentally when you are trying to connect with yourself or with your partner.
Hey, it's Amanda. If you are enjoying the show and felt a connection to what we've discussed, and you're ready to take the next step in reigniting your passion and enhancing your relationships, I have something special for you. Visit www.amandatesta.com/thegoods, where you can subscribe to my email. And if you want, you can sign up for a free personalized sensuality discovery session with me. In this one-on-one heart-to-heart session, we'll explore your unique desires, uncover any challenges, and set a path for you to experience the vibrant, fulfilling love life you deserve. Don't let another day pass feeling unfulfilled or disconnection. Take action now, and let's start this beautiful journey together to fire up your feminine fire. Join me at amandatesta.com/thegoods. I'm excited to stay connected. Now back to the show.
So for example, if you find yourself starting to think about the grocery list, maybe you can tune into what are you noticing that feels pleasant in your body? How can you ask for more of that? How can you let yourself know and let your partner know what you want and what feels good, right? So these are some of the key parts of this. The other thing is that we often have stuff that gets stuck in our bodies, in our body mind, right? We get the stress cycles or things that have happened in our life, imprints that stand in the way of us connecting to what feels good. And so oftentimes we need to learn how to embody those things so that we can more easily create new connections in our body, right? So for example, I'm noticing that as I tune into my low belly, this can be a common one, is that you might feel numb, or you might feel nothing, or you might feel just kind of like meh. And that's okay, right? So what we can do is we can tune in, like, what would it feel like to spend some time breathing into that space that feels nothing? And maybe there's still nothing there. Or maybe you notice like there's maybe a sound your body wants to make, or maybe there's an emotion that wants to come out. And then you give yourself the opportunity to feel that, right? You can let yourself feel the emotion. You can let yourself make a sound that your body might want to make. Maybe your body has a movement it might wants to make, right? Maybe there is some kind of physical touch that your body wants, right? There could be anything. And so when we can actually give our bodies the time to connect and notice, like, what do you need? What is it that you need me to know? What would I like you to know? What is the wisdom that's here in this numbness? And then oftentimes when we can connect to that part enough and for a long enough time, then it is going to move through into something else, right? So sometimes if there's numbness, then there might be pain. And then after the pain, that's when you can connect to the pleasure. But it's a very predictable way that we can move through things, and that we can actually trust that the more we show up for our experience, the more we are going to learn, the more we are going to emerge connected to ourselves in a deeper way. And that's one of the things I love about embodiment practices, because when we do a practice, we have that opportunity to listen in. We actually make a space to connect with pleasure or what is standing in the way of pleasure for us, right? So what is an embodiment practice? When I'm talking about this, what am I talking about? So there's so many of these, right? Even the one I just shared about doing the simple body meditation to tune into your sensation. That is an embodiment practice, right? Dancing, that can be an embodiment practice. Doing breath work. Breath work is a beautiful practice because when we get into the breath pattern, what often happens is that we activate different part of our brain. Like we bring in intentionally a little bit of activation of our nervous system so that we can move through maybe emotions that are needing to be present. Maybe there's something going on that we just need to allow our body to move through. And we don't always need to know the why behind it. That's what I love about the somatic experiencing work is you don't have to relive any stories. You don't have to go back through and rehash something, but you can just work through what's happening in the body in the present moment. So what often happens is that things in the past show up in the present and stand in the way of us living our full aliveness, right? Connecting fully to our body's aliveness. And so when we create these embodiment practices, it gives us an opportunity to move through what's standing in the way. So body meditation was one. Breath work is a powerful one. I love doing practices that work with your sexual energy, right? Working with the jade egg, for example. Those are practices I love. Practices where you work with pleasure and intentionally inviting more pleasure and energy into your body so that you can learn different ways to work with it and expand the pleasure and expand the energy. These are where we can have things like full body orgasms and learn more tools of working with our energy, which is in a beautiful way to expand your pleasure potential. And one of the things that I see time and time again, especially working with clients for over a decade and working with thousands of students, is that these practices that are designed to promote energetic and pleasure awakenings work. They work. And the thing is that we all have a different timeline, right? We can only go as fast as the slowest part of us is ready to go. We all have a different timeline. We all have a different way that our pleasure looks. And that's the beauty of the journey, right? Is that there is always more to learn. There's always different ways we can grow and expand. And there's no limit to that, right? There's no limit. There's constant growth that can happen. And I think that's one of the things that can make sex so beautiful over a lifetime. Because I have been with my husband now, we've been married 14 years and together since 2008. And our connection just gets better and more deep because we do the work and because we are open to the expansion that is capable. And we are blown away continuously because of the work we put in and the connection that we have. It's unbelievable. And it feels like such a gift because it is. You know, we really honor it as a gift because it is. And I think because we realize it's such a special thing that we have a reverence for it and a reverence to it and know we have to show up not only for ourselves, but for the relationship because it takes work and it takes dedication and it takes practice. But that's the beauty of the practice is that the more you show up, the more you learn, the more you grow. And every time I leave a practice, no matter what it is, if it's a breathwork session, if it's a jade egg practice, if it is connecting with my husband, whatever it is, I always leave feeling like I've moved through something. And that can be something little, that could be something big. I always feel more connected to myself. I always feel like I've learned something. And I always feel more present in my body. And I always feel more aliveness. More of my life force energy is flowing. And that is where my creativity comes in. That is where I can show up for my work and be creative. That is where I can have a lot of patience when I'm parenting so that I have more resilience in dealing with the challenging parts and can focus more on the fun, right? And it makes me be more of a pleasant partner to be around, makes me show up more fully for my relationship because I have more of a conscious commitment to it. And that is why the embodiment practice is so key and why it literally makes a world of difference in your sex life. And if this is something that you're curious to learn more about, then I invite you to reach out. I have a program totally dedicated to this called the Pleasure Foundation, where you actually learn the tips and tricks to work with your body, to embody the beautiful spectrum of what being alive means. You can find out more about that at amandatesta.com/TPF. But what is in it for you when you do this? Well, something that I am always blown away by is the aliveness that comes back in people. It's like people go from being meh to being fully alive. And you can see it. It's a tangible thing you notice in people, right? Like the light in their eyes come back. Their skin is more glowy. Their personality is more online, right? They're just more vibrant. You know how when you see someone walk into a room and you're like, I don't know what that person's doing, but I want what they have. That is exactly what you can uncover in yourself through this work. And I think that it is always so inspiring to me, the courage it takes to do this work, because it is not easy, right? If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's sometimes much easier to just go through life like a robot or be on the treadmill and get things done and rush from one thing to the next. That's what our culture teaches us, right? To just rush, rush, rush and do and take care of everyone else. And this is a road to burnout, right? This is the road to dissatisfaction in life. That's why so many people feel so disconnected from themselves and from their families. And they're like, oh, well, I've worked so hard and I've created all these wonderful things and I have nothing to show for it. Or I feel unhappy. I feel disconnected from my family and from my life. And all I do is go through the motions and I'm exhausted at the end of the day and I have nothing left. And I can assure you that if that is you, there is another way. And I've seen it so many times that is why I'm such a believer in this work, because it is truly life-changing. People are different in every single step of their imagination, right? They're different in how they look in their body. They're different in how they show up for their family. They're different in how they show up for their work. They're different in their relationship. They're more creative. They are more solution-oriented. And in times like this, I cannot even imagine more important work, because it can feel very hopeless out there. But when we can actually take the time to take care of ourselves and bring our full selves online, then we are better able to show up for the collective. And that is so needed right now. And I am not saying that as like bypassing the difficulty, because it's not. It's truly like that's what it takes. It takes creativity. It takes resilience. It takes being able to show up again and again. And it's not easy. And we have to be able to take care of ourselves so that we can better do it. And I think that there is no more fun way of doing this than tapping into the pleasure of our bodies and what is capable there. Because once we learn the tools, that is something we have for a lifetime. No one can take it away, right? We have our bodies, we have our ability to connect to them. And that is the beauty of the simplicity of it, right? Sometimes the most powerful things are so simple once we can't really connect to that. And I think that's what is so powerful about this work, is that once you learn it, you have it forever. And it will always be there to help you. The tools will always be there to help you, no matter what your transitions are, no matter the challenges that you face, because there will be new ones. There are constantly new challenges. But when you have the tools to actually pause and be with what's hard and be able to sit with the difficulty, then you can more easily move through it. And it doesn't mean it's ever easy. Sometimes it's not easy and it can feel uneasy for a very long time. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that you're more able to get there when you're able to quickly move through these stress cycles, these challenges, the things that have been sitting on top of what feels good for so long. And when you can actually give your body a chance to complete what it never got to complete, that's when the healing happens. And that's when the integration happens, because you can actually create new pathways of the way that our brains work, right? We have neuroplasticity. We can create new neural pathways. And it is such a gift, right? Sometimes it can feel like we're stuck in certain ways of being, but that is not true. And I've seen it day in and day out. And so I invite you to maybe just see, what are your takeaways from this podcast episode? How might you want to invite in more embodiment in your life? Are there ways that you are curious to explore? And it can be simple. Like I said, it can be simple. You can start with just even tuning in to your five senses more often than not, right? You can tune in to what sensations you're noticing in your body. You can start there. And if you would like more support in this, I'm always here for you. Sending you so much love, and we will look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you loved this episode, please go ahead and forward it right now to someone you know would love it. And if you've not had a chance yet to leave us a rave review on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to rate and review if you enjoyed it, as well as make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to stay connected, make sure to go to amandatesta.com/thegoods to download your free sensuality activation and stay connected. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.